Bayley just keeps on doing it. In today's video, I'm going to tell you the next step that Bayley just did to elevate herself and what WWE is doing such brilliantly when it comes to Bayley. Because for the last several months, really since, I don't know, February, March, she's been in the women's IC title picture, whether that's feuding with Lyra Valkyria or Becky Lynch. Going into WrestleMania, Bayley and Lyra Valkyria were slated to challenge Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez until WWE threw us a gigantic curveball. That was when they decided to remove Bayley from that championship match, and there was going to be a mystery tag team partner that would replace her and team with Lyra. That turned out to be Becky Lynch, who went on to win the tag team titles with Lyra, only to turn on Lyra, and they went back and forth in feuding at the time. Now, Bayley was on the sidelines, and we were waiting and waiting and waiting until she re-emerged, inserting herself not only into this feud, but this title contention for the women's IC title. She got to work with Lyra. She got to work with Becky. A lot of good moments, a lot of great matches. In the end, though, Bayley can never get the job done. She can never get the women IC title. And that was frustrating for a lot of folks because we've seen what great work Bayley has been able to do. This past Sunday at SummerSlam, it was a situation in which Becky Lynch defended the IC title against Lyra Valkyria. Bayley got involved. Now, the stipulation called for this. It was no DQ, it was no rules, and if Lyra lost, she couldn't challenge for the women's IC title as long as Becky Lynch was champion. Well, Bayley got involved, mixing it up, and she refused to give in to Becky Lynch's kind of hypnotic speech of turning on Lyra, attacking Lyra, and helping her. Instead, it was Bayley throwing punches with Becky Lynch. And even though she stood up for her friend in Lyra Valkyria, at the end of the day, she accidentally hit Lyra, costing her the championship match, allowing Becky Lynch to win and retain the title. Now, the big question coming out of SummerSlam for Bayley fans was what WWE would do with her. How would they position her? Would she continue to work with Becky? Would she continue to work with Lyra? Well, they answered that question in a backstage segment. Now, while Becky Lynch is feuding with Nikki Bella over the women's IC title, Bayley is still continuing her program with Lyra Valkyria. Now, on this week's episode of Monday Night Raw, there was a backstage segment where it was a situation where Bayley came up to Lyra. She tried to apologize to her, but Lyra was not hearing it and says that she needs to get out of the Bayley vortex. They aren't good for each other, Lyra said, who doesn't want to be friends or enemies, but just wants Bayley out of her life completely. So the point of today's video is looking at Bayley in the role that she has played so well over the years, which is being a top star who can elevate herself, but can also elevate others around her. If you look at WWE's direction in 2025, they saw Lyra Valkyria as a star that they could really build up, where you take them from a upper card type talent and make them into a main event talent. Well, how did they do that? Well, they did that with two names. And they took 3 stars and they just basically rotated them within another, right? And it was just a vortex, which I think is actually fitting considering Lyra just said that. So they said, okay, we're going to make Lyra a top star. And we're going to use Becky Lynch as a tag team partner and a foe. And we're also going to use Bayley in that same role. Okay, so she gets a rub by being with them, by sharing the spotlight with them, and then she gets a rub by working with them and going toe to toe with them and beating them and everything like that, right? So Bayley, who has consistently throughout her career being able to enhance talent, but also progress in her own career, making her a bigger star herself and being able to get herself over and continue to win championships and matches and be a prominent star on the television show. That's what they did. They literally made a Lyra Valkyria a main event star who does get a pretty good ovation when she comes out, when her music hits, and when she does backstage segments, and when she does matches, right? That was the purpose of 2025 for WWE. And Bayley, from being a foe going toe-to-toe with her with the women's IC title on the line earlier this year, to them being tag teams pairing, and then also feuding with Becky Lynch and trying to vie of who's going to be number one contender for the women's IC title, who can get to Becky Lynch, who can beat Becky Lynch. And now, even though Lyra is saying, I want to get out of the Bayley vortex, I actually think this feud is going to continue. And I think it's going to lead to a Lyra Valkyria heel turn, because if you look at the landscape of WWE, she can't work with Becky Lynch because they already did that again, so she's kind of tied up. Naomi, she is working seemingly with Rhea Ripley, right, and Io Sky, and so they're kind of still doing their thing there. So she doesn't have anywhere to go as a babyface. And really, the only thing that's there for her is a grudge rivalry with Bayley, because they've built up, built up, built up. I see Lyra turning heel. That way, it does two things. Number one, it gives Lyra something to do. Okay. And number two, it gets her a reason to work with Bayley, because she can't go after either title, and she's a baby face. And Bayley needs a heel to work with. And so you could have that program going for the next month or two, depending on how long you want to stretch this out. Regardless, Bayley continues to get talent over, and she got Lyra over, and she's still doing it, and she's still doing it at a high level, and she's doing it in a very, very big way. So props to Bayley for being able to do what she has done consistently throughout her career, which is get talent over. I mean, it is tremendous to watch this woman be able to do this across all brands, right? From her early NXT days to her early main roster days to her real prime, and then obviously her breakout year in 2024. It really is special to see what they've been able to do with Bayley and everything like that. I like the feud with her and Lyra. I think it's a good pairing. I think it's a fun, anytime that you can have a situation where you can have undercard storylines that are actually interesting and captivating, and you want to see it progress, and you have two stars that you're interested in, and there's not a title on the line, go for it. Go for it. Like, this works. And if it works, then just keep running it back, right? And Bayley's such a good performer. And I feel like Lyra is coming into her own as a true star. And they are just continuously making this work. And they're continuously making everything just chip away, chip away, chip away. And I'm I'm a pretty big fan of what they're doing with Bayley right now. Let me know down in the commentary below if you agree.